And tell me about the set history between these two, Scar.
So Leffen versus HBox has actually been, they have had a long rivalry, and it's gotten a bit personal.
Hey! Who the fuck threw this?
I have been pretty upfront about the fact that I hate him as a person.
If you want to talk, you talk first. I said what I had to say in my video, that was me speaking. So now I'm here in person.
I think the box is a terrible product. It literally is supporting terrible people.
Not all dark triads are sadists, but Leffen certainly is. You need to know the truth about Evidence.zip, which is a collection of documents that was put together 8 years ago.
What he did in reaction to that was basically making fun of me. Like he said, oh, but can you hear this?
I made a stupid emotional tweet at the parasite of the Smash community technicals. And then I deleted it because I realized that that cockroach doesn't deserve any attention.
I will stop you, Leffen.
Just kidding, that's way too dark. This is what you guys have wanted, so let's cut to the chase. Leffen is a professional fighting game player known by many titles. A streamer, a champion, the self-proclaimed best fighting game player in the world, but what do people mean when they call him a villain? Well, that's exactly what I'm here to explain. Many have tried to chronicle his history in the past with varying degrees of success. Some lay the foundations of where we are now, and others not so much. But few, if any, have truly been able to encapsulate his most infamous deeds. After my diss track went triple platinum, I thought for sure that Leffen would see the error of his ways and turn over a new leaf. But now I see just how naive I really was. So it's time I finally do what I should have done a long time ago. The passage of time has allotted me with the clarity necessary to now present to you all the victims of Leffen in hopes that it will raise awareness for the current damage he's done to his biggest victim of all, Hax, who, as a result, has been banned from playing Super Smash Bros. Melee at a competitive level for the rest of his life. Hashtag free Hax, by the way. But before we get into that, a quick word from today's sponsor. You know, I'm somewhat of a pro gamer myself, a mobile gamer that is, because today's sponsor is Star Trek Fleet Command. Yes! I finally found something I'm good at. Beam me up, Scotty. Ah! Just like the name suggests, in this free MMO, you can take up your role as a star-based commander on either mobile or desktop as you travel along the edge of civilized space. You can recruit iconic Star Trek characters from the original series, The Next Generation, the J.J. Abrams films, or Strange New Worlds, you name it. My favorite is Spock, for his stunning lashes. Oh, and also because I can do the hand thing, see? Look at that. Isn't that cool? Is that an epic James Kirk? What you doing, Kirk? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. No, yeah. I like that. Give me more of that. Epic Kirk and Pelia are two of the new officers that you can enlist as you set off to discover mysteries, conquer battles, and boldly go where no one has gone before. But if you're too scared and need someone to hold your hand out in the vast stretches of empty space, you could try, I don't know, the epic Romulan Captain Nero with the 7-day login bonus. With millions of players between factions worldwide and new missions and fresh narratives in alternate dimensions being added constantly, it's a captivating experience for anyone familiar with the series. And who isn't familiar with Star Trek, let's be real. So download Star Trek Fleet Command today and start customizing your fleet to dominate the galaxy. Thank you so much to Star Trek Fleet Command for sponsoring this video. Now back to your scheduled programming. Let's answer the decade-old question of why is Leffen so hated? Evidence.zip is the name of a collection of testimonies and forum posts which was submitted to tournament organizers in 2013 in order to petition for Leffen's ban from Melee. This resulted in a year-long ban in Sweden, his home country, before he would be reinstated and go on his infamous run as the God Slayer of Melee. Now, if your only exposure to this document were from Leffen, he'd have you believe they were just forum posts from when he was 15, was written by Hax because he blamed him for his insomnia, and that not only did he not deserve the ban, but it was removed in part due to many people behind it harassing his friends and calling them slurs.
people know about the Evidence.zip, and although I do not think that that was deserved, like being banned for it, I do definitely agree that I acted like a fucking jerk, and that I need to do I need to be much better going forward, is what I realized.
Well, let's have a look for ourselves, and you tell me what you think. The release of Evidence.zip coincided with a Smashboards post from professional Swedish player Armada. In it, he outlines 8 clauses which describe how Leffen behaved and what he had done that ultimately resulted in their decision. Number 1. Leffen treats new players poorly, demoralizing them. Number 2. Leffen has spread lies about people, claiming they are known for lying and stealing, when this is in fact nonsense. Number 3, he has constantly made fun of people's diseases and disabilities with no regard or sympathy for the people unfortunate enough to be born with a condition, and using this to make them look like bad and/or incompetent people. 4, he has spread personal information about people and exaggerates these facts to make them look bad. Number 5, Leffen has always displayed extremely poor sportsmanship. 6, Leffen constantly talks about other people in a negative light, causing unnecessary drama. 7, he has bullied people in real life in both subtle and not so subtle ways. 8, he has excluded people from Smashfests and trips through manipulation and misrepresentation of other people. An abundance of examples are provided in the document that accompanied this post. The player Rocky, who struggled with hearing problems, was the primary reference for Clause 3, regarding the mocking of people with disabilities. Over Smashboards, Leffen told Rocky, "We aren't all socially disabled like you." Winky face. Rocky would later recount his experience with Leffen in the most recent metagame documentary by Samox, which aired in December of 2020.
My first interaction with him was that I told him, oh, hey, I'm kind of having a really bad hearing issue where I can't really pick up and work at the same level as most people do. What he did in reaction to that was basically making fun of me. Like he said, oh, but can you hear this? And then he tried mouthing words. It really always felt like he was focusing on my shortcomings as a human being.
Somehow, this would pale in comparison to the post Leffen made directed towards another Swedish player, Mike Hager. LMAO, I love how Mike Hager is. I have made some mistakes, and I will certainly make more, but I will learn and improve from them, and honestly, I wouldn't take any advice from you if you were the last person on Earth, since really, you're fucking terrible at everything I value, whether it be mental health, social life, Smash, school, being fit, commentary, work, or simply not being ugly as fuck. As far as I'm concerned, you're fucking terrible at all of it. Wanna know something funny about Mike Hager? Mike Hager sucks. Mike Hager places last in teams not winning a game. Mike Hager misses his trains to tournaments, and when he has no other way to escape getting wrecked in pools by my Yoshi, he burns himself on a paprika that he heated up himself. Mike Hager burnt himself on a paprika so bad that he had to leave the tournament and his dad had to get his things. I still can't stop laughing when I think about it.
Yeah, his trash talk was different, to be honest. It wasn't a brotherly. He went very, very personal with a lot of people, like telling people who've been to mental hospitals twice that they don't respect them, that he doesn't respect them because of their mental health. After the ban, he was kind of a little bit nicer, but now lately, actually, he's been, I don't know.
Here's what he had to say about the Swedish players not allowing him on the road trip to Genesis 2 because he wasn't 18. I also think that the 18 argument is horrible. And about age equals more maturity, I don't really see how people who failed and dropped out of school, people who have huge debts and not enough money to afford food every day, yet refuses to search for a job, people who have declared mental illnesses and either still don't have any interest until the last day, are so stunningly mature. Oh, and they are under the age of 21. Yeah, just make it seem like I hate mentally ill and handicapped people, and don't interview anyone at all with any kind of nuance. What nuance are we missing here exactly? Are you suggesting they didn't hear you right the first time? Because that's kind of fucked up, Leffen, I'm not gonna lie. Your Honor, I call to the stand my own Smashboards posts. Unless Armada, Mike Hager, Rocky, Hacks, and the entire country of Sweden are lying, I'm starting to think it wasn't just posts on a forum. There's another incident with a player named C, where Leffen alleged that he stole thousands of dollars and struck him over 8 times on their road trip before anyone said anything. For basically no reason at all.
During this time, there was one particular player that physically abused me, like basically slapped me extremely hard across the face several times over basically nothing. I sat in his seat, I was playing Smash, and he wanted to go to sleep. His alarm didn't wake him up, and took about 8 times before someone said anything, and no one really said anything. This player also ended up stealing money, never paying back people thousands of dollars, and some people are still friends with this person to this day.
Now, according to Armada, Zolar, and even Leffen's own Smashboards posts, C only slapped him once or twice, which isn't much better, but he also explains his side of the story nonetheless. He described the moments leading up to these outbursts as psychological torture and antagonization from Leffen, as he would constantly be in opposition to anything and everything he said during their road trip. In the first instance, it was because Leffen kept the lights on in the RV while they were trying to sleep, turned the TV all the way up while playing Melee, and neglected to wake up the group for a scheduled hike they'd already paid for. He even went as far as allegedly blocking C from grabbing his stuff, resulting in the first slap. The second instance occurred after Leffen apparently repeatedly jammed his seat into C's knees, causing him physical pain on the plane ride home. He swiftly reminded Leffen to stop with a hard tap after the first warning proved insufficient. I'm of course not suggesting that physical assault was justified in either instance, but to retroactively go back and multiply it by 4 times what anyone agrees took place, and admit to verbally instigating the whole thing without any details of how you did it beyond, I was pretty bratty.
I'm not saying this to try to make a pity party of myself. I think in general, I took this situation and I dealt with it pretty well. And I was pretty bratty, you know. I stood up for myself. I always try to take fights verbally, of course. I never fought anyone physically, but I'm not gonna say that I didn't like do anything to deserve any kind of lashback whatsoever, but I definitely did not deserve to be physically assaulted several times.
Doesn't exactly paint a full picture, and is in fact making it a pity party for yourself in a video that's supposed to be focused on the alleged victims of the 2020 Me Too era. Also, this is just a small detail, but Leffen, you weren't banned when you were 15, okay? Your birthday is October 16th, 1994, and you were banned on February 9th, 2013, which would make you exactly 18 years, 3 months, and 24 days old. 4 days before you got banned, by the way, you were insulting someone's skill, intelligence, called them a sensitive little random, and said your insults were true when another poster pointed out how it poisoned your argument. That's only one example out of the dozens provided. However, it's much easier to pretend like you were just a misunderstood minor who accidentally was a condescending asshole mocking the disabled than it is to be doing that as an adult. And as you'll probably notice, these small inconsistencies are surprisingly consistent. And all of this is publicly cited in Evidence.zip. Some people claim that Leffen has grown and changed after this ban, but he doesn't even think he deserved it in the first place.
People know about the Evidence.zip, and although I do not think that was deserved, like being banned for it.
But that's all old news. It's over a decade ago. Surely Leffen wouldn't still be having these problems after learning his lesson, right? After returning from his year-long exile for insults, lying, and bullying, Leffen would soon prove all the haters wrong by uploading the video titled, "One of the Many Reasons to Hate Hungrybox," where he portrays him as the devil. It's clipped from a stream where Leffen has Hbox censored in the chat, while a Jigglypuff player he brought on by the name Snowy recounts all the negative interactions he's had with Hungrybox to date.
Yeah, the first time I met him, I asked him for a best of $5 Puff Ditto, and when he found out that I was a Puff, he went his secondaries, he took 2 games, and then after the second game he was like, alright, I don't want to keep playing, and he takes my money, he walks away, and I was wearing the Hbox shirt that he made, like the one with the cube.
No!
Yeah, and he says to me, nice shirt, and he leaves.
Dude, this is like a villain story. Like, every person I meet that has met him has their own story, it feels like. Guys, join the resistance. Here's the thing, these stories are so ridiculous that you would actually think that they're made up. And the fact that we believe them should tell you enough about what experiences we've heard previously of Hbox. Like, we would not believe this if someone told me, even if you tried like, no, I'm honest. If you said this about Armada, I would be like, no, I don't believe you.
No,
but with Hbox, I actually fucking believe it. It's ridiculous.
And that's why I didn't want to say it though, is because it's so ridiculous.
In 2018, Hacks met with Snowy at the tournament Don't Park on the Grass and asked him about his thoughts on HBox and the dynamics of his relationship with Leffen.
I would end up meeting Snowy at a tournament called Don't Park on the Grass that took place at the end of 2018. I talked to Snowy about the video he starred in, and he told me that he never really meant what he said about HBox. Snowy was mostly starstruck by the chance to hang out with Leffen, and wanted to impress him. Snowy also told me that Leffen was highly abusive toward him, and would repeatedly call him off camera. When I asked Snowy why he would take Leffen's abuse, he told me that being friends with Leffen gave him opportunities, and that it let him talk to other top players in the scene.
Seems like some habits are harder to kick than others. Leffen went on to call Hungrybox a sociopath, alluded to the previously unknown fact that he cheated on his girlfriend because he decided to, quote, retweet him, calling him out.
I 100% was unfaithful in a past relationship.
And beyond accusations of Hungrybox killing Melee, Leffen would constantly drive home that he was a terrible human being who has been awful to 99% of the community, of which I'm sure is a very charitable and fair characterization. On an unrelated note, the genesis that took place a year after Leffen refused to fist bump him twice in a denial of mutual sportsmanship, a fuck HBox chant arose from the crowd immediately following his dominant win over PPU.
Hungrybox
to winners finals. That was for winners finals?
Yep.
Oh boy.
Yeah, no. Hungrybox sit clean as usual.
That's not a good stuff.
Leffen, along with other community figures, disavowed this behavior at the time by saying, "I don't like HBox or Puff, but seriously, crowds need to be respectful. Get it together." This was in stark contrast to his tweet from 6 months earlier, where he said in response to Hungrybox lamenting the hate he received, "Got no sympathy for HBox. No one was cheering against him. But even then, maybe he would have more support if he hadn't been consistently awful in person to 99% of the community. Maybe try just once to not play the victim when you are the one to blame." That's quite the opposite opinion there. Unsurprisingly, not everyone was on board with Leffen's sudden and seemingly out-of-character show of support, including Hungrybox's own mother, who replied, "You have been partly the creator of this hatred against my son. Shame on you. Life will show you that the hate comes back to you." Again, this is probably a coincidence, but 2 months later, someone threw a crab at Hungrybox while he was on stage to signify that he was a cancer to the community.
Who the fuck threw this? Who threw this at me? Fuck off, dude. Fuck you. Why would you throw something right at my fucking face? You know how hard I work on here?
Sure, Leffen's rivalry with Hungrybox isn't hours worth of content like Hacks' controversial Evidence.zip series, which unsuccessfully coupled criticism with speculation. But it is years of harassment, and only one beef resulted in someone actually getting assaulted. He is held to an impossible standard where even apologizing isn't enough, because unfortunately, it's impossible for someone like Leffen to not receive hate. He's already a widely disliked and controversial figure in multiple video game communities for entirely different reasons. Don't believe me? What am I kidding? Of course you believe me. On to the next segment.
That is amazing, brother. He actually looks like he knows everyone hates him. Isn't that crazy?
Whether it's Smash, Tekken, Street Fighter, Guilty Gear, Call of Duty, or even minimum wage workers, Leffen just can't seem to stop pissing people off. I'm starting to have a sneaking suspicion that there might be a common denominator here. When Leffen got into Tekken 8, he immediately shit on it and said it was a very bad game.
If you're not already into fighting games, or if you don't just love Tekken, like, you can only imagine playing a 3D fighting game, and you don't like Soul Calibur. It's a very, very bad game. It's very expensive, too. I can't recommend it to many people. If you somehow played Tekken for 10 years, it's not as bad.
Then when fans started to notice he wasn't having the best time, and because he was one of the biggest people streaming it, they began posting a bunch of reaction videos and clips of his rants. Backlash became so prominent that Leffen eventually tweeted, "Tekken top players and community figureheads are fine, but Tekken Reddit, Twitch chat, and Twitter are legitimately the single worst crowd he had ever fucking experienced." So basically, everyone with clout was cool, and the other 99% of the Tekken community was instantly put on his shit list before he even finished learning the game. Emery, a Tekken player and content creator, recently called out Leffen's habit of banning anyone who disagreed with him in his streams. Yo, this Leffen dude is a fucking cornball, LMAO. I've never seen a chat full of people afraid to tell someone they're wrong so they don't get insta-banned. Just hundreds of drones sucking up to a dude who doesn't know what's going on is crazy. Inconsiderate Raccoon was one of the Tekken players among those who received a ban. This came shortly after a debate over the semantics of the term old head, and soon enough also found its way onto Twitter. I'd like to also point out that Leffen was in Raccoon's replies explaining to another player how he was banned for giving unsolicited advice. If not wanting to listen to obvious advice from people who literally cannot read is being LTG vanilla, then call me that if you want. I don't care what you think. I just don't want to hear it repeated by every random shitter 20 times a match like you did. Wow, what a swell guy. Truly a changed beacon of positivity.
And most importantly, he's not actually an asshole. He's just a guy with strong opinions.
I could sexually harass 20 women because I have a sick fox.
There's a big difference between being a heel and actually being toxic.
You fucking disgusting piece of shit.
Also, Low Tier God is at least funny when he's pissed off.
A stupid ass question is, do I work out anymore, dumbass? You see my physique? Somebody ban this bitch ass nigga to my chat. I do work out when I get an excellent cardio session when I'm busting hot nuts on your mom's ass cheeks.
You're less of a vanilla LTG and more of a twink DSP, if you will. Like I said before, it doesn't end at Tekken. In my search to find every story related to this case, there was one video in particular that was recommended to me time and time again, and that is the video by the Guilty Gear chip specialist Shinkensou, who addressed Leffen directly after receiving harassment over character disagreements. This followed a retweet from Shinkensou of one of his friend's posts which read, "Watched Shinkensou's overview of Chip and loved that the comments section shut the idiots up about left this and that," referencing the comments from Leffen's audience after his takes on a recent patch of the character. Leffen misinterpreted this to mean that he was calling him an idiot, and in reply he said, "Shinkensou, if you want to trash talk me, just fucking man up and say it. Constantly retweeting this passive-aggressive shit is just tiring." So, 8 hours later, Shinkensou did exactly that in a 21-minute video. Leffen saw his response 10 minutes after it was posted and said, "I'm gonna be real. I'm at a tournament and I don't have time to watch 21-minute clickbait-ass video title. If you want to be Keemstar, go ahead. But if you want to say something to me, do that. Not a YouTube video for views." Yeah, because we all know Leffen is above using drama for views. God forbid.
My name is Shinkensou, or Kensu for short. Kenso, pick one, doesn't matter how you pronounce it, just I am a long-time fighting game player. I specialize in King of Fighters and Guilty Gear, and I've just been in the scene for so long. I've been moving around, making content, going to tournaments. I've done Top 8 Evo, went to SBL for Japan, done a whole lot of stuff. So I've been on the block.
You top 8 at Evo?
Yeah.
I didn't know I was talking to royalty.
Nah. I'm just another dude that just loved Guilty Gear and enjoyed the characters that I played. I just love competition.
What was your first interactions with Leffen like in the Guilty Gear community?
Okay, so my first interaction with Leffen was when I went into his stream one day and he was fighting some May. I know he was having some trouble. As a long-time Guilty Gear player, you know, top player, maybe we can have somewhat of a conversation, or just try to offer some kind of advice, or just try to like kind of ease it down, because I could tell he was frustrated. The back and forth wasn't very good at all. In fact, I got banned on my first interaction inside the stream, which is pretty sad. And I want to point out here that as someone that's been playing Guilty Gear for a very long time, my thing was I'm just happy to see people playing my favorite fighting game. And whether it was Xrd, Accent Core, didn't matter. Like, my thing was, hey, dude, you're playing it, you know, you're a well-known person, or even not. Hey, I want more people playing the game than not. And he's a big figure, so why not just go try to help, or just try to, you know, offer some type of, you know, aid, if you will. Wasn't the best. I definitely got banned.
So you gave, would you say it was unsolicited advice, and that might have been what triggered it?
Well, I mean, Buddy was already triggered to begin with, and then stream chat already was kind of getting on me as it was. I tried to offer the advice in a fashion that wasn't so
antagonistic, like a compliment sandwich?
Yeah, it was more like, you know, it was complimenting what he was already doing. And it's like, hey, you know, maybe you can sprinkle some of these in here just to try to help out the situation so you can help mitigate what's going on, because I respect you as a player to understand, but it wasn't in any like, hey bro, you should just do this or just do that, because we've heard plenty accounts from many top players or high level players and even just players in general like, what do you mean just do this? It doesn't just work like that, which obviously I agree, it doesn't just work like that. So that's why I try to, that was my angle. I try not to do it as a just do this type situation.
What was the final straw that you were like, okay, I need to address this. I'm finally making a video. It's done. Let's settle this.
Well, man, you straight to it. Okay.
Yeah.
I want to open it with this first and foremost. I've been playing Guilty Gear for such a long time. It's been known as one of the best chips in the US, if not top 3, if not top 1 chip in the United States in Guilty Gear for a very, very long time. And knowing that, I figured maybe I would get a little bit more respect from people because, you know, for starters, I know no one would question Leffen in particular about Fox, right, in Smash.
Normally,
so it's like, well, you know, a lot of you guys are new here, so put some respect on your boy. I've been here. Now I open it with that. Now I'm gonna get into why I open with that. A lot of people look to me as, you know, the chip guy, you know, just like anyone would look to Leffen as the Fox guy. And there was a nerf that happened to Chip, and like there was a lot of, he's bad, Leffen says this, Leffen said that, and people would bring it my way. And I'm like, I mean, I understand where he's coming from, but I don't agree. And it was really that. And it's gotten to this big string of tweets and stuff like that because a friend of mine was like, you know, Leff is tripping, but I know Kenzo got me, so I trust him.
Right.
And it was just like, rage, you don't listen to me? What do you mean you're not listening to me? I am Big Leff. I'm like, yo, brother, take it light. I think I've done my due diligence with this character. I kind of know when he's good and when he's bad. Oh, you don't know what you're talking about, this, that, the other. Oh, your credentials, what have you done, blah, blah. And I'm like, yo, why are you attacking me, bro? Like, because no one wants to listen to you about Chip? I went to Japan for this guy. I qualified to go to Japan with that character years ago. I should preface that prior to that scuffle, you know, after I got banned, he came into my DMs on Twitter and apologized. And I was like, oh, okay. He admitted to having, you know, he was just mad that day. Blase, whoop-de-woo, just wasn't having a good one. Even wished me good luck in the tournament I was gonna go play. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So I guess we're Gucci. And that's when this happened. And I'm like, okay, so now you just hit 180. Like, I don't, what just happened here? So it's like, hey, I would love to have a discussion with you about the character if you want, and we can go, you know, we can take it there. We just agree to disagree, and there's nothing wrong with that. People can listen to me, people can listen to you, but you wanted to use your platform to practically attack me. And I had all these people in my dude, don't even get me started on my DMs. I delete a lot of them.
You had people coming to you personally about this.
People were DMing me on Twitter like, yo, Leffen knows what he's talking about, blase, whoop-de-woo. I'm like, yeah, but I also played Chip Xana for the entirety of my life. I'm pretty sure I know when my character's bad. You know what I mean? It's like, like I said before, like if someone was to come at him about Fox, everyone and their mom would be like, nah, shut up, dude. Leffen knows what he's talking about. But no one came to my side to talk about Chip but me. And I always tell people this, technicals, I'm not gonna lie to you, right? Video form, you guys can hear it straight from the horse's mouth. There's a few things in this world I will definitely fight you over. And one of those things is Chip Xana. I'm not gonna lie to you, I will. I've placed high with him several times. You can argue, oh, well, you didn't win all these tournaments, but like, dude, nothing takes away the effort and the work that was put in. You can't take away my accolades. You can diminish them if you want, but they're in existence. I have a whole SBO card I can just go pull out right now for your video just to prove a damn point.
Right, I respect it. You can pull out all the little...
all the memorabilia.
Yeah, the tags, the trophies.
But that's essentially it, and we just went back and forth, and I'm like, I don't get this. Like, you're coming at me, your fans are coming at me, I'm getting threats. What? And that's when I just made the video. I was like, all right, dude, you want me to address you? I will address you firmly. Bump this Twitter shit. I'm not gonna sit there and type. I'm done typing. You pulled the gun first. All I did was just retaliate. You know, you saw for yourself. Like, I'm still like, hey, dude, I got no problem with you, but like, you're not gonna come at me sideways. Like, don't get it twisted. These other people out here, they may bow to you or whatever, but hey, yo, I'm a human being just like you, dog. You're not gonna look at me sideways. You're not gonna talk to me sideways. If you want to talk in person, we could do that. You want to talk in DMs, we could do that. Whatever you want to do to squash it, I'm cool with that. Like, I love Guilty Gear. I love the scene. And you're not going to just push me out just because you're Big Leff. I'm sorry, bro. That just doesn't work like that. Maybe no one may have came to my side to help out, like, say, like, the Tekken community, but I stand on business. I don't, no. I'm a human being. You will respect me. And that's how I treat everybody. You will respect me.
That leads me to my next question. How did he respond to the video when it came out? I saw a little of it on Twitter, but I don't know if he like made some kind of like personal DM exchange or like something in person.
To my knowledge, he just talked about it on his stream, and a lot of people brought it to my attention where it's just like, oh, he's just using me for clout and stuff like that. And it's like, all right, brother. You know? That
was the end of it? I saw he called you Keemstar as well on Twitter.
Yeah, he definitely did that. And I'm like, bro, I don't know where you got Keemstar from or who likes to start beef, but if you look at my content, none of it is beef oriented. If you talk to anyone that knows me, I'm anti-beef. I will definitely bring stuff to you from the real. That fight on Twitter was definitely dumb, for sure. But like, for someone who was at a tournament, boy, my boy had Twitter fingers. I'm gonna lie to you, Chief. I reply something, that dude had something 2 seconds later. I'm not gonna talk to you, I'm at a tournament. Brother, then focus on your tournament.
So the next question is, do you still experience any of the negativity from that period? Is there any like migration from his community where they'll come over and chip check you on knowledge or just generally harass you?
There was for a little while, and I definitely had to ban some accounts on my Twitch. There's definitely some that came in my YouTube comments too. But I would say it was more positive than negative. Like if I had to put a scale on it, I would say 80-20. 80-20.
After the release of your video.
Yeah, it was definitely positive. A lot of people came by like, dude, you handled that so well. You know, I'm shocked you didn't just curse and do way more or just say he's a dumbass. It's like I said earlier, you know, I don't hate people. I hate what they do. Others that were like, oh, you're not gonna make it, you're a trash chip, you're this, that, the other. It's like, hey, dude, say what you want, but I've been here longer than your boy. And whether or not I have the best tournament results, or whether he's your GOAT or I'm your GOAT, whatever you want to call it, like nothing erases what I've done. That's mostly what I ever really got attacked about. You picked shit for whatever reason. Maybe you picked him because you thought it was broken, and you lost something that was quote unquote broken for him, and you're just not good with him anymore. It is what it is. You know, you moved on. But I'm someone who enjoyed the character. I'm very character loyalist, very character specialist oriented.
After he won EVO 2023, how does he stand in the Guilty Gear community, and have things gotten better between you two? Have you guys squashed the beef? Have you tried to reignite anything?
So I've openly left the Guilty Gear community. I love Guilty Gear, to be real with you. I love Guilty Gear as a franchise. I love Guilty Gear as an IP. I'm not the biggest fan of Strive anymore. I also was not the biggest fan of how that went down and how I was treated. Now granted, I mean, trust me, I got my big boy pants on, I'm not tripping, you know what I mean? But like, I also recognized that the game wasn't for me, so I decided to just bow out. And I uninstalled, I even made a video about it and everything, and you know, it's crazy how that went down. Cause when I was rallying for the game, they're like, yeah, man, this game sucks. And then when I leave, it's like, oh, dude, you can't hang. It's like, I'm doing what's right for me. And with that being said, have things improved? I mean, I'll be up front with you once again, like, we have not exchanged any kind of words. I don't really, again, I still don't hate the guy now. And I'm gonna make it clear here too. You guys can hear it from the horse's mouth. I will not approach him at all. I would rather him approach me and make that exchange, because I don't feel like I did anything wrong. I feel like I was wronged. And like, for me to quote unquote be the bigger man and be like, hey dude, let's get over it. No, I'd rather you step up to the plate because you were in the wrong. Apparently I touched a nerve. And because I touched a nerve, we got to that point. Like I said before, you shot first. And I think for the apology or any kind of exchange of words to squash it, I'm not gonna quote unquote be the bigger man. I said what I said in my video, so now it's your turn.
So
if
you
wanna,
would be open to reconciliation?
More or less. But like, at that point, just keep my name out your mouth. Just don't even bring me up. Act like I don't exist, and I'll act like you don't exist too. Because I don't feel like we would ever have any meaningful conversation after that exchange, to be honest.
Do you have any final words for the community, for people in the video? And then also, this could be where you promote your stuff.
I would say my final word to people watching this video is, please consider who you support, because there are a lot of people out here doing good, and there's a lot of people that are not doing good. They're bringing a lot of negativity towards the fighting game space by way of so many different methods. And like, it's going to the wayside and people are not paying attention to it. They're turning a blind eye because said people have status. Don't allow that to happen. Speak up. Let it be known that there are issues. Let it be known to the TOs and the community as a whole at large that there are some problems that we do need to fix. Maybe there are some things that we may not agree with, maybe some players, etc., like, but don't let that go to the wayside. Be careful who you support. Please, please, please be careful who you support. It's just, there's so much good happening between the FGC and even Smash from what I can tell. Like, we're in a good time with gaming, fighting games. Like, we just need to just enjoy this stuff, man, because there's no telling what's gonna happen a few years from now if we keep being in these like negative spaces or whatever or what have you. Like, we just gotta learn to be way more positive about stuff, man, because this shit can up and go poof tomorrow and we could lose everything and then all this was for nothing. So that's my little extra message. And I guess with that being said, you know, you can follow me on Twitter at Shinkensou. You can follow me on Twitch, Shinkensou as well. YouTube, Shinkensou, all the 3 of those things. That's where you can find me. And let's chit chat. Let's talk fighting games, man. I love fighting games. So if you want to talk fighting games, hey, you want to talk Fatal Fury? That game's coming out. Hey, I'm your boy. I love me some Fatal Fury. That's Rock Howard. We in there.
Awesome. Well, thank you for your time, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I appreciate you reaching out. I do.
Gotta do my due diligence. I don't think I've ever seen Leffen touch a shooting game, and he somehow got into an argument with the creative director at OpTic over skill-based matchmaking. How is this even fucking possible? When Hitch attempted to de-escalate the situation by mentioning he was a fan of Leffen and that they could simply agree to disagree, naturally Leffen responded in a calm and professional manner one could expect by such a seasoned and well-respected talent. Keep gaslighting your 14-year-old audience. Peace, bro. See ya later. Great talk. Fucking humble yourself and try to understand the other side, aka 99% of the player base, instead of running away and jerking off to your shitty clips versus noobs. Wow, you really like the number 99, huh? First of all, who the fuck says noob in 2020? Did C somehow smack you all the way back to 2013? Secondly, this guy literally said he was a fan and that you got him into the industry, and you still continued to insult him like 3 distinct times. I gotta give you props for not deleting this, because this is fucking embarrassing. It's like you're incapable of being the bigger man in the situation. Which brings me to the next person, which happened just this month. Recently, a Guilty Gear player by the name of Cozy has also had the misfortune of crossing paths with Leffen. After Leffen rage quit an online match against him for lag and taunting, Mikozy posted the clip to Twitter, which quickly gained traction amongst the community.
Oh my god. He's playing normally. This is making me emotion sick. It's crazy he's playing like normal. So disgusting. Like, he plays every game like this. Fuck you. I'm not even giving you the satisfaction. It doesn't matter. I am never rematching that shit. You fucking disgusting piece of shit. To play that in that lag and then taunt, knowing it's you, that was like worse than 7 frames. That was like maybe the worst feeling match I've ever played. Like, he legit cannot run the game at all. Like 30 FPS level. Maybe you shouldn't try to run that shit on your toaster, man. God damn. Why do you taunt them, bro? You also lag on every stage, by the way. I played you before. You lag on literally every stage. I don't know if you have the lowest possible settings, but even when we played on the Salta stage, you still lag. Dude, there's no way you're running on a potato PC and Wi-Fi. That's insane.
Leffen's response was to call him a lying piece of shit for having claimed that his taunting was the primary reason, and not the horrendous lag, which could be seen in detail from his own stream overlay in the clip. However, as you may have noticed in the clip, and even from the original stream, he brought up the taunt twice while complaining about the lag.
To play that in that lag and then taunt? Why do you taunt them, bro?
It's not like he didn't mention it at all. So I don't know how he's a lying piece of shit for saying you alt F forward after a taunt combo when that's exactly what you did, and then proceeded to complain about the taunt. You're a professional player who can't handle losing in a little online lag in a friendly match and the smallest bit of in-game provocation? Of course, Mikozy was talking his own shit in the replies before you quote retweeted, but are you really surprised after calling him a disgusting piece of shit and trashing his setup seconds after rage quitting the match? I came apologizing so you'd rematch, and I'd clip you more, loser. Why don't you go steal a fucking decent computer too so I can wash your ass in 60 FPS, you pathetic piece of shit? I'd like the audience to remember that Leffen is in fact 29, and this is all over a zero-stakes online match of Guilty Gear. You mad? I'm a little mad, but more than anything, I feel pity for you. How sad does your life have to be for this to be your idea of a good time? Well, regardless, see ya in the next life, loser. Yeah, definitely a little mad there. After their little back and forth, Leffen scoured the replies and found an interaction from Mikey, which prompted him to call for his ban from all Guilty Gear events. God, I hope Leffen goes back to Smash Bros. I want him out of the bracket so fucking bad. We don't want him either. Let's bully him into playing King of Fighters. Let's bully him into playing a certain game that involves a spinning tool and originates from Russia, which I won't name but hint at. While I don't think this joke was in the best taste, it clearly didn't exist in a vacuum. The escalation started from Leffen calling him a disgusting piece of shit.
You fucking disgusting piece of shit.
And insulting his setup on stream.
Dude, there's no way you're running on a potato PC and Wi-Fi. That's insane.
And could have easily been avoided with no rage to even clip if it weren't for his short temper and condescending attitude. Mikey later deleted his joke and apologized for overstepping during the online spat, but much like all the other situations, the harassment didn't end there. As if it weren't enough for just Leffen to overreact, his followers took it a step further by bringing Mikey's personal life into the discussion. In his bio, it says, "If you'd like to help me escape my abusive father," and then links to an actual GoFundMe page for donations. He hoped to move away from his abusive parents and continue his education that he had to stop due to financial troubles in the family. His father would take every bit of his savings that he managed to hide away in an attempt to avoid misappropriating the funds to feed his father's nicotine and alcohol addiction. But because of how far the petty feud escalated, and because the reformed Leffen cultivates such a positive audience, commenters took to mocking his abusive living situation for likes on Twitter, with quotes like, "All this clout, and bro still getting abused by his dad. I see why your dad doesn't like you, bro. Your dad is abusive for a reason, bud. Hard to blame him. The guy's like 20 and has a GoFundMe set up for an abusive dad and his priorities are like this? I guess his dad isn't hitting him hard enough. Dude should get a job. Hope your dad drinks plenty tonight before he sees you." One person even went as far as donating €8 to leave a message on his GoFundMe under words of support, which reads, "I'm throwing a month's worth of X Premium. At least Elon provides me a platform and service. You provide none." Now their interactions ended there, and Leffen didn't condemn any of this, but obviously he can't control what random enraged people on the internet do, and I wouldn't expect him to. That is a very unreasonable standard to hold content creators to. However, as we'll see very soon, neither he nor the Smash community believe that that's the case. So remember this instance moving forward, because it's going to highlight a more integral problem. I don't fucking deserve being constantly hated online for years now, and feeling unsafe at events. Of course you shouldn't have to feel unsafe at events. No one is saying that, but not deserving hate? After yelling at and taunting a community member with a hearing disability, bullying the Melee community resulting in a year ban you don't think you deserved, then shitting on Hungrybox for years and trying to get his character banned, starting shit in the Guilty Gear and Tekken community as soon as you joined, then calling Kenso Keemstar for finally addressing you, and constantly arguing and insulting people over social media.
You fucking disgusting piece of shit. Yeah, there's just like some cockroaches that like, sadly, you just can't really deal with them in any other way than ignoring them.
And you don't think you deserve hate.
Why am I still getting hate?
You can't please everybody and talk shit. That's not how the internet works. Your problem, Leffen, is you'll go around calling people cockroaches, shitters, and terrible human beings.
Leffen frequently tweets about, "I can't believe this terrible human being." He doesn't say terrible, player. He says terrible human being.
Yeah, to that level.
It's gotten to that level. Is killing the game that I loved.
But when you get even a tenth of that back, now suddenly you're the victim of an orchestrated campaign to unfairly harass you.
And you're upset about retweets and likes, but you're being aggressive going after those tweets. Why'd you follow me? So you can fucking follow my fucking tweets and attack me every fucking time I fucking speak about Chip? Why are you victimizing yourself, my guy? Why? Why are you trying to play victim?
You are the Evo champion, self-proclaimed best fighting game player, and the biggest fucking pussy in esports. Hopefully at this point we all know what Evidence.zip is. And if Evidence.zip is a collection of Smashboards posts, then you can think of Evidence.zip 2 as its more comprehensive misguided manifesto sequel uploaded by the professional Melee player Hacks. I think everyone can agree that the initial uploads from Hacks aimed at criticizing Leffen contained a significant amount of hyperbole. From the red Adidas comparison.
When I beat Leffen at Genesis 7, I was wearing a red pair of Adidas pants with white stripes on them. These pants would become synonymous with my run at that tournament. A few months after Genesis 7, someone sent me a picture they took of Leffen streaming. Leffen was wearing a red Adidas shirt with white stripes on its sleeves while editing a digital controller's button layout. Again, this wasn't a coincidence. It was a psychopath's way of showing that he wants revenge.
To Leffen using his phone as a death note?
The funny thing is, Leffen is basically trying to turn his phone into the death note. Through the use of modern technology and a good understanding of crowd psychology, it's actually possible to create a death note nowadays, and people need to be wary of that.
Or comparisons to a totalitarian regime, followed by a lesson in armchair psychology about his dark triad tendencies.
If you look at the current state of the Smash community, it is in line with the totalitarian regime, and that is entirely because of Leffen. Part of what this video will do is blow the doors open on the fact that this isn't just a villain persona, but who Leffen really is, and so you'll need to understand the Dark Triad.
Hax is by no means a gifted documentarian, or psychologist for that matter. His habit of going into extreme detail may work when explaining the mechanics of Melee, or his own controller he developed, but was severely misplaced when attempting to conduct a psychological deep dive into Leffen's conduct and its potential socio-political consequences. However, thankfully this was not entirely lost on him, seeing how he has now apologized, retracted, and modified his coverage over the past 3 years to remove these segments and ensure it only contains a clear and untainted representation of his arguments. It's also important to note that Hax attributes this initial campaign to a state of psychosis induced by a drinking problem, recreational drug use, and is compounded by the global lockdowns and his history of abuse by Leffen throughout the years as an original Evidence.zip witness.
I'll start by confirming the obvious, which is that I was mentally unwell when I chose to create that video, but also struggling with recreational drug addiction. During the COVID quarantine, I had developed a very severe alcohol addiction. I did go to therapy, as many people advised me to, and after showing the video to my therapist, they explained to me that I was experiencing a state of mind called psychosis when I made this video.
Psychosis aside, there's actually a wealth of evidence and documentation that even I found useful throughout his video. But there's only enough room for one Smash dictator, and I'm sorry to say, but it's not Leffen. From the team that brought you the $1,000 restreaming license scam before their planned destruction of the organization Panda Global and any hopes of Nintendo collaboration, Mikey, the Cheat, helped create the initial write-up and an additional explanation for why Hex's videos constituted a ban from the Melee community.
If you take a look at like the laws on the book regarding copyright when it comes to stuff like this, like, you know, Nintendo is in their legal right to shut down anything. IP holders have what's called performance rights, and so any like public performance, whether like recorded or broadcasted or not, the IP holder has the rights to all of that.
In it, he states that the particularly concerning assertions from Hax were that Leffen, for the purpose of personal gain, spoke out against Zero after evidence emerged that he had groomed a minor, and also the claim that Leffen would probably prefer if Zero were dead. The conduct panel outlined this as harassment and defamation of character to an extent that they did not find acceptable. Well, let's investigate these claims, shall we? Mikey's first problem is actually wrong from the jump, because Leffen rushed out a statement against Zero in support of Jisu without any due diligence, fact-finding, or witness testimony before allegations of misconduct with a minor had even been posted. This was at the same time very serious accusations were being dropped one after another throughout the entire gaming industry. He positioned himself as a friend of Zero, who only wanted him to acknowledge his past mistakes because all inappropriate behavior lay the foundation that enables predators. And he shared a story from Apex 2013 of Zero allegedly viewing hentai with Japanese players to support Jisu's claim of a similar instance in the Sky House. But yet, it's just fucking hentai, so why are people trying to make it look like Zero did something harmful? Showing porn to a minor, 19 to 15-year-old if I remember correctly, is literally considered sexual harassment in many jurisdictions. It's not just fucking hentai. There's multiple reasons why this story doesn't check out, and if you want to know more in depth, I covered this years ago accompanied with interviews in my Skyhouse video.
That doesn't even sound like something he would do. Maybe that's something he does on his own time, but to just throw it up on the big screen, especially with how crowded the room was, I feel like it's weird that she would make that claim, and then nobody else with how crowded our houses were at any given time be able to back that up. I don't know where she at with that one. I'm gonna disagree. I don't know what the fuck she's talking about.
So I'll be keeping it brief here. If you ignore the fact that anyone receiving a public twitlonger at this time was immediately considered a predator, Leffen seemed like a really thoughtful and stand-up friend for not handling this in private. That is, if his story was true. After his twitlonger, Zero reached out to multiple Japanese players who were present during the Apex story. They all refuted Leffen's framing and stated that they were simply looking at official artwork of characters as they discussed anime.
He lied in a story to make me look worse in a critical moment, a story in which I have witnesses in person who were there to witness what actually happened. Witnesses who have made statements to say that Leffen was lying. And these are not random players. These are well-established top players in Japan.
They all wish to remain anonymous because obviously they'll be witch hunted by the Smash community just for replying, but I've personally seen the uncensored messages and I know exactly who these prominent players are. Leffen signed over this exact story with no additional evidence in the lawsuit between Zero and Jisu. If he actually cared to look into it and wanted to reach out to anyone involved, I'm sure that could have easily been arranged, but he has refused to do so for undisclosed reasons. When Zero attempted to talk with Leffen amidst all the allegations, like any true friend, Leffen screenshotted it, posted it, blocked him, and stated he was distancing himself so he wouldn't be put in a Keemstar headline. However, he didn't simply ignore him and allow for the alleged victims to be the focus. Leffen made a spectacle out of it, tweeted constant callouts and opinions, and uploaded 27 minutes worth of content back to back, over 7 minutes of which is spent talking about himself.
When I joined the Smash scene back in 2009, 2010,
I couldn't feel more proud of
I
my
was
parents for
15,
people know about the
Evidence.zip, and although I first think that was deserved and banned for it, I was driven. I'm not saying this to try to make a pity party of myself. I think in general, but I definitely did not deserve to be physically assaulted in this situation. I basically vowed to myself.
For someone who didn't want to be in a Keemstar headline, you sure as fuck had a lot to say.
People have been praising me for speaking up and saying that I've been using my platform for the right thing, but I'm still not confident that I did everything correctly. In fact, I know I didn't.
Even though this video is already over an hour long, I decided against making Mewtwo King an entire segment just because he already forgave him. But yeah, Leffen apologized to him privately for saying that the false allegations against him were plausible and urging his audience to make sure that people like him who are accused of serious things respond to those claims, which is one of the reasons why Mewtwo King was forced to publicly defend himself against an old, unsubstantiated, and false allegation. But you know, that's just collateral damage when you're doing the right thing and standing up for victims.
And I still feel like the real hero here isn't me, it's the people that were brave enough to speak up. And honestly, I've been struggling with feelings of guilt because I've gained a lot of subscribers, a lot of followers, and attention because of these awful things happening. I know many people have struggled with the same feelings. It's just been extremely rough for all of us.
Just because Leffen supposedly feels slightly guilty about his personal gain from the Smash Me Too era, as he was making himself a spokesperson, it doesn't mean he didn't expect to financially benefit.
Dude, hashtag me too, guys.
You can't say he didn't do it for personal gain any more than Hacks can say he did. So to sit there and assert that that statement alone is defamation of character, as a matter of fact, would be both impossible and unreasonable, unless you can somehow read Leffen's mind. In the same vein, Hacks' claim of Leffen preferring if Zero were dead is also obviously speculation based on the potential Smash market share he stood to gain and his track record thus far.
Zero was the only person left in the Smash community with a larger following than Leffen, and so the situation had practically fallen into Leffen's lap. Unsurprisingly, it was later revealed that Zero had entered a suicidal state following the events of last summer. All eyes were on Leffen when this news came out, and so he responded by saying that he wished Zero well. Amazingly, this was all it took for Leffen to take the target off of his back.
However, I'd like to add that lying about the Apex story with reckless disregard for the social climate at the time, and instead of talking in private, immediately blocking Zero and posting the conversation, doesn't necessarily make me think he would care. But I guess he was sad to hear that he attempted suicide and hoped that he got the help he needed. So clearly he was just looking out for him. The TO's determination in both of these arguments would suggest it's a fact that Leffen did not speak out for personal gain, and that he would care if Zero were to pass away. Both claims that no one on their panel could reasonably argue is a definitive truth, and therefore makes this decision arbitrary at best. because you can't establish defamation of character without first proving that the statement is false, that the defendant knowingly spread the falsehood, and whether it caused measurable damage to the subject of said statement. And if they're a public figure like Leffen, who has a decade worth of controversies and is literally nicknamed a villain, proving further harm to reputation would prove to be no easy threshold. Now, I'm only taking the time to state legal standards because for some reason, Mikey thought it'd be appropriate to cite legal cases in this document. But we'll get to that in a second. The final summarized infraction was a decision for Hacks to publicly call for Leffen to be banned and deplatformed, and that he had refused to recant. This one is true. But since June of 2021, Hacks has issued several apologies, wholly disavowed harassment of Leffen, and now seeks for a neutral resolution where they can both be allowed to play the game in peace.
While the metagame revision was triggering, it wasn't the end of the world as I made it out to be. I apologize to Leffen and the community for projecting that narrative. I should also clarify that I'm not looking to hold Leffen accountable for what was explained in this video. I believe the fairest outcome would be a more neutral settlement in which it's acknowledged that there were circumstances which led to this, but that I needed to do better even when being faced with those circumstances.
Personally, I don't find this infraction to be particularly egregious, seeing as how both the Smash community and the internet in general are not above calls to deplatform people they find distasteful. And while that's all well and good, that only really covers the first half of Mikey's document. In the second half, he's focused less on summarizing and more on directly combating arguments made in Hacks' video, that he frequently referred to as unfalsifiable statements. This would prove to be his biggest mistake, because in doing so, he compared Hacks' conclusions to that of QAnon alleging human trafficking and harvesting adrenochrome from children. Now you might ask, how is that any different from Hacks bringing up rhetorical similarities to dictators in his coverage? You got me there, I don't know. But I guess harvesting the blood of children isn't an extreme example to the Smash conduct panel. Mikey further points out how Hacks tried to support his idea that Leffen is willing to lie about conduct by citing an altercation wherein Leffen was struck by another Smasher, C, in 2012, and how Leffen stated he was struck up to 8 times, but at the time he posted on Smashboards, it was only once. This is a valid criticism, because the two stories do not align properly as we saw earlier. Leffen was claiming he was struck 8 times, but several testimonies establish a consistent 2 at the max, with mitigating circumstances changing between the two narratives. Mikey goes on to state that even if Leffen is lying or exaggerating about this, I do not know how that in any way serves to support his conclusion that Leffen would probably prefer if Zero were dead, as Hacks stated in his June 4th, 2021 document. Well, Mikey, that's because that criticism, as you just stated in the beginning of this paragraph, was to support the idea that Leffen will lie about conduct, which he was just shown to be doing. To then say something along the lines of, even if he lied or exaggerated, and then pivot to an irrelevant point to the argument being made, is an active deflection and defense of Leffen lying, in a document that's supposedly criticizing Hacks for defamation. The juxtaposition here could not be any more disorienting, because I was under the impression that spreading lies was the entire problem. I would also like to point out that Mikey is not a lawyer. His job was a creative producer at the esports company Beyond the Summit. Yet he cites legal cases like Milkovich v. Lorraine Journal Co. and Gertz v. Welch in his breakdown to explain how Hacks' video could constitute legal defamation. He even had to go back and edit stuff out of his document because he wrongly claimed that Leffen never convened with Jisu before posting allegations, alleged that Hacks acted with malicious intent, implied he posed a physical threat to events, and included a condescending remark towards his use of the term "the press" to refer to the documentarian Samox. So just so we're all on the same page here, in total, Mikey managed to compare Hacks to a QAnon child human trafficking ring conspiracy, defended Leffen lying about conduct of another player, framed Hacks as a malicious and violent threat to the safety of tournaments, cited legal standards he is not acquainted with or qualified to handle, and misrepresented the collaboration between Leffen and Jisu, while yet again displaying disregard for whether someone else was lying or not. That's just about everything Hacks is guilty of, somehow neatly packaged into a statement from the people who were supposed to be explaining why he should be banned. Are we starting to see the issue here? On September 19th, 2022, over a year after his ban, it was announced that starting January 1st, 2023, Hacks would be conditionally unbanned from specifically New York City Melee, because they felt indefinite lengths leave all parties in limbo. After this ruling went into effect, Hacks attended several local New York tournaments and a few major events like Level Up Expo in Vegas, Tipped Off 14 and DreamHack in Georgia, and Smash Factor in Mexico. And even though things were going smoothly, and it seemed like he was unbanned, the concern of leaving parties in limbo was not shared by all. And several major tournament organizers around the globe, who were a part of the original decision, refused to define a length for his punishment. When Hacks tweeted about wanting to be able to go back to major events because the biggest Melee tournament was taking place that week and he wasn't allowed, Leffen took this opportunity to make his first ever response to Hacks since the posting of his videos. Just an irresponsible outburst with no bad intentions? 10 hours of fully edited video content, collaborating with others, calling me Hitler and evil incarnate, doubling down over and over for months, and then literally never even apologizing to me for any of it? I've been scared to go to every single Smash event since. I'm so fucking tired. I don't fucking deserve being constantly hated online for years now, and feeling unsafe at events, and then people hand-waving it because they're good at a video game. How ironic. Again, a little exaggeration here, but that's to be expected. It's not 10 hours of content, it's more like 4.5. And in regards to collaborating with others, for clarity, I have never collaborated with Hacks to make a video on Leffen, nor has his coverage convinced me of the necessity to do so. He's done a great job of that on his own. Also, no offense to Hacks, but after I called out Leffen in my Zero video, followed by Franchise's Masterpiece a month later, he got dislike ratioed on almost everything he uploaded, locked down all of his replies on Twitter, and left his main channel for 9 months until he got a Multiverses sponsor. Like I said, there's only room for one Smash dictator, and I think the people have spoken. Hacks is the least of your worries. But because banning me won't do anything, and you're too chicken shit to respond to someone your own size, keeping Hacks banned is like a nice little consolation prize. Beyond those points, there's two other issues with Leffen's statement here, the most obvious being that he lied about Hacks never apologizing to him, which is a little odd because he's literally responding to an apology from Hacks while saying that. But if that isn't convincing enough, here's a compilation of every apology Hacks has ever made to Leffen before he made this tweet. On September 9th, 2021, he apologized to Leffen in a video titled, "My Apology to the Melee Community."
Leffen and I have had beef ever since we were teenagers, and what recently brought this beef back to the forefront was actually the Metagame documentary. The night that documentary aired, him and I got into an argument over whether or not it should have been revised. He would end up getting his way with the revision, and from there, I basically went down this path of taking things way too far. So far, in fact, that I need to extend an apology to Leffen for some of the things that I said about him along the way, as they were uncalled for.
On September 24th, 2021, he apologized over Twitter. I'd also like to apologize to Leffen for saying several uncalled for things about him along the way. Despite the fact that Leffen and I don't get along, I respect him as a competitor and value the entertainment he brings to the game. On July 24th, 2022, he released an Apology to Leffen video.
I absolutely could have prevented this from happening, and it still took multiple conscious mistakes for things to go south. And for that, I must sincerely apologize to Leffen and also Jisu. I'm sorry to both of you that I did not handle the situation better and that I let my emotions get the best of me during that time period.
If you were keeping count, minus the apology Leffen was responding to, that's 3 separate times publicly in both text and video that existed years before Leffen would claim he never apologized. After he realized this inaccuracy, he quickly deleted the tweets, and the very next day stated he would be dropping out of the Big House tournament because of death threats. And these were later attributed to Hacks because of the timing and how he also mentioned he wanted to attend.
Last week when I issued a couple of statements on Twitter, I had no intention of sabotaging his weekend. I just wanted to let people know how much I miss being able to attend events like Big House and Genesis.
Not only did he disavow the harassment Leffen was receiving, but he'd upload a total of 4 more apologies. One the day after he dropped out of the Big House, a video 6 days later.
I need to advise my fan base and community to please not direct any further negativity toward Leffen's way on my behalf.
Another a few months after that.
I'd like to start by apologizing to the Melee community as well as my friends and family for the incredibly selfish and self-destructive course of action that I've taken on social media over the course of these past few years.
And most recently, an apology on Twitter and YouTube on May 13th.
So I'd like to clarify that from here on out, whenever I make a tweet or any type of social media upload, please don't associate it with that type of hostile environment any further.
However, Leffen has never apologized for lying about Hax's apologies, and not a single TO has held him to a standard of truth regarding this instance. So now many people assume that Hax purposefully incited his fanbase to harass Leffen by apologizing to him and condemning his actions. How Leffen managed to pull this one off is honestly nothing short of impressive. He said he's been scared to go to every single Smash event since Hax's uploads in June of 2021. But since then, Leffen has gone to 8 major Smash events and attended over 17 in-person tournaments. That's excluding every other game he now competes in. The only thing Leffen is afraid of is not having an excuse for when he loses. Hax is not a threat to anyone, and I think that's blatantly obvious to not only Mikey, who edited that specific statement out of his original ban, but also the head tournament organizer of New York Melee, and also the people who have been around him for the over 22 events he's attended after his conditional unban. But do you know who was actually attacked as a result of online hate? Hungrybox. On January 23rd, 2024, NYC Melee issued a statement permanently banning Hax from playing in his home city. Since Smash is a fairly unorganized community, decisions like how they unbanned him last January allowed Hax access to different events through a social domino effect. So naturally, the opposite, considering how he was never even fully unbanned in the first place, would mean that his career was now as good as finished. In this statement, they cite 2 clauses Hax violated from their previous agreement by uploading his latest video titled January 2024 Ban Appeal. As the title suggests, it was yet another attempt to appeal his case so he might be allowed back everywhere and not just at a few select tournaments. The first clause states that the banned individual releases no further public statements about fellow community members, which can be considered in violation of COC Rules 2.2.2 and 2.2.3. Well, what are these specific rules in the Code of Conduct? 2.2.2 outlines threat of assault on another participant or any other person, including a spectator, during a match or event. I don't even know why this one is here, because it's not like Hax has ever done that in the first place. You can go through his entire 9-minute video, or hell, every video he's ever uploaded, and not once is there any threat of assault. 2.2.3 states panelists or signatories disclosing confidential information, such as names or information about victims, or other non-public details of cases. Hax released the full testimonies from the Evidence.zip era to hopefully convince people that he wasn't crazy for pointing out Leffen's history of bullying and manipulation, and he tried to further explain how he shaped his perspective. The examples I showed at the beginning were already made public, but these witness statements sent to organizers had never been seen prior to this. But that doesn't even really matter, because these aren't even the rules he agreed to. They cited 2.2.2 and 2.2.3, when really, the original agreement, which is linked in this post, clearly shows he agreed not to violate 2.2.1 and 2.3.3. 2.2.1 is directed and malicious intimidation, harassment, or bullying of any participant, whether by language or conduct. And 2.3.3 is repeated, unwanted, and unwelcome advances of another participant, primarily through online means. Obviously, this was a mistake, but that presents another problem. In their decision to ban a player for life, they spent so little time reviewing it that they couldn't even elaborate the actual rules being violated, and instead of copy and pasting it, which would have actually been easier, managed to somehow link 2 entirely different parts of the Code of Conduct as an explanation for his punishment. Because of this oversight, people could read this statement, trust that it's accurate, and now think he might have threatened to physically assault someone instead of just appealing his ban with 11-year-old information in the hopes that people won't continue to think he's insane. But of course, doing that would violate the second clause, which states the banned individual engages in no additional interviews or public discussions on the topic of their ban, for their own social media channels or any others. This video was uploaded over a year after he was conditionally unbanned. So if this clause was still in effect and was assumed to be in perpetuity, since Leffen bullying Hax and the community is directly related to the topic of his ban, that means he could not discuss it for the rest of his life, or else he himself would receive a lifetime ban. thus making speaking up about his own abuse a punishable offense. That's not counting clauses 3 and 4, which further outline he is not allowed to appeal his ban with the undersigned TOs, or allowed to be reinstated into organizing groups of tournaments like the Nightclub, which is a tournament series that he created. If that sounds like an insane overreach of their power and like a really unpopular decision, don't worry, you're not alone. Melee players and creators like Simple Flips, Player Essence, and Omni voiced their disapproval in staggering numbers. The NYC head TO tried to reduce the backlash on his highly unpopular post to a simple mob of technical stans. While I am a fan of Omni, he is neither a technical stan, nor am I bigger than him, Player Essence, or Simple Flips. There were also several Melee players who very much do not like me, who were incredibly outspoken about this decision. Your attempt to frame me as the overlord responsible for all of the negative engagement is just a cheap way to scapegoat me, remove any agency or sense of individualism from your own community, and invoke tribalism because technicals equal bad. But don't worry guys, he later updated everyone with his own personal explanation for why permanently banning hacks was completely justified. I'm certain this will be a lot more convincing. There was no concrete path on a national level for hacks to follow to get unbanned. That's the problem, isn't it? If you get indefinitely banned in Smash, which is about 90% of all bans, you might as well get permabanned, because the TOs are so dysfunctional and adverse to conflict resolution that they'll never fully allow you to reintegrate, especially if it means that they might get any form of backlash. You guys realize that all of these TOs are fully capable of getting together when they want to remove someone from the community, right? So why is it so difficult for them to do the same thing to help give people a proper second chance? Could it be that they're only interested when it could negatively impact their image and they aren't actually invested in the betterment of anyone that gets banned? Nah, that can't be it. Do better. That's our motto. We're the good guys. Don't fuck up once though, or you're gone for life. You know, I was actually looking into it, and the Splatoon community has almost a carbon copy of the Smash Code of Conduct. Yet every time I see a statement released by them, it is usually accompanied by a specific date and duration of the punishment. This is not the case with Smash. Almost every single ban is an indefinite ban because TOs are either incapable of defining a proper length, or they don't even understand their own code of conduct. Splatoon has the same code of conduct, yet they are able to apply it in a very consistent and efficient manner. I don't understand what the problem is here, genuinely. I do not believe Hacks himself encourages the threats or harassment against others, but whether intentional or not, when your consistent actions have consistent consequences, it is up to you to correct that or to plain stop those actions. The head TO of New York Melee is saying that even though Hacks does not endorse the behavior whatsoever and actively disavows it, because random burner accounts harass Leffen whenever he discusses his ban or apologizes, it's his fault for discussing it. So it's not actually his actions, but someone else's. And he genuinely believes this is a valid criticism.
I need to advise my fan base and community to please not direct any further negativity toward Leffen's way on my behalf.
If someone decided to dedicate a terror attack to this tournament organizer every time he ate a bowl of cereal and then shout him out on Facebook Live, I guess his consistent actions would have consistent consequences and he should go to fucking jail. However, that's obviously not the case because that would be fucking stupid.
And fuck you, dude. Wow. Fuck you.
I've gotten a lot of harassment by Technical's fans and other people. Not blaming Hacks for this at all, just for clarification. So I'm ready to move on at this point. So yet again, in this follow-up document, you'll blame me for criticism of your widely unpopular decision, and somehow in this specific instance, you can accurately assess that they are all in fact my fans, and not Hacks's, Omni's, Simple Flips's, Player Essence's, Franchises, Two Saints, or I don't know, an individual with their own fucking agency and ability to form an opinion. You realize I've been arguing with Leffen since before Hacks's videos, right? So how did your team successfully manage to analyze and identify over the course of this entire back and forth who was a fan of who when they were shitting on Leffen? The answer is you didn't, because you're just making shit up, guessing where it's convenient, and then using it as a justification to ban someone for something they didn't actually do.
I just want Leffen to know that despite our differences, I respect him a lot as a competitor, and I'm sorry for ever projecting that type of negativity onto his name.
Fuck you, dude. Wow.
But that's not even the craziest part. They didn't just permanently isolate the guy with mental issues from his social circle for wanting to call out abuse, clear his name, and then use him being upset to justify it. There's a whole other group attempting to financially bankrupt Hax at the same time. And you'll never guess who's involved. This is a long story, so while I'll be brief in this retelling, the franchise has been documenting it for years and is currently working on a feature-length video of his own. So turn on notifications for him if you want to know more. Firstly, the box is an ergonomic controller designed by Hax to play competitive Melee without risking long-term damage to your hands.
The box changed my entire life by allowing me to do the one thing that I have an unwavering passion for, which is playing Melee.
During its production, he hired a guy named Steven Casimir, who would be in charge of hardware and production. His father owned a factory, so the partnership couldn't be any more beneficial in getting the box into the hands of eager customers. Unfortunately, Steven sucked at his job. There were so many delays on the second run of box shipments that Hax and the team were attempting to fire him from the project. But the hardware wasn't the only issue. Steven somehow had full control over their company's finances and refused to initiate money transfers that could assist in production efforts. Hax also had most of his money invested into this account, and so when he got sick from COVID, Steven still wouldn't even allow him to withdraw funds for medical costs. With all of the issues coming to a head, Steven and his father tried to make the inevitable severance as financially beneficial as possible. By allegedly threatening Hax with over $100,000 in unapproved manufacturing costs not previously reported to him or his team, they managed to get him to agree to a list of demands. 1, that Hax would pay Steven $30,000. 2, the parties agree to a non-disparagement agreement. 3, the parties agree to a mutual release of all claims they may have against one another. 4, the box intellectual property developed by Hax would belong to all parties, which will become obvious why shortly. And 5, just saying that Steven will forfeit his shares and leave the company. By now, you've probably recognized that most of these screenshots appear to be from a legal document. Well, you'd be right, my perceptive friend. That's because Steven would sue Hax after leaving and starting his own company with a completely original controller by the name Frame 1. Wow, look at that website. Looks a little familiar, doesn't it? It should. It was made by the same person. You see, after Steven left, he reached out to the woman who helped Hax years prior to see if she'd be interested in developing his website and brand. And you'll never guess who it is. I should have never helped make the box. I didn't just do the logo, I basically became head executive, because the project was falling apart in so many ways because your fave didn't know how to run a business at all. All for him to remove me from the credits. There's so much more stupid shit I could dish, but I'm hoping this is all I need to finally eradicate the Melee toxins from my head. Oh, I guess last thing is when the dev approached me to make the new logo for Frame 1s, I most definitely made sure F1s were the sexy apple of the community, while Box became the ugly androids. Alright, last petty note. That's right, the woman famous for NFTs and posting false allegations against Zero and Sky Williams, who later had to delete it as part of a legal agreement, was the perfect partner to give one last middle finger to Hax after copying his controller and business. But that isn't even the best part. Take a quick guess who the #1 promoter of the Frame 1 is, who managed to instantly sell them out for both production runs.
Before we start this review, I want to say that I am not affiliated with any of these controllers, but I did get review samples from all of them but the box. I bought one of these myself. This one is a review copy, but I did buy my own. These are not very expensive controllers. This one is $200 and it's extremely high quality, and this one is only $120. I am also biased against the box for reasons I will not talk about here. In the same way, I think the box is a terrible product. It is bad value, it's outdated, it literally is supporting terrible people. Like, the build quality is bad. I've had one, I've never thought of using it. Like, it's just a bad product. But I still think a box has an argument to be better than a Frame 1. Why? Because they keep adding buffs to it. They just keep buffing it. It just got a new buff like 2 weeks ago. Bad value, it's outdated.
The guy known for shitting on box controllers and saying that not banning them because of their ergonomic reasons was bullshit.
The ergonomic reason is just like, it's just so bullshit though. Like, everyone needs to recognize that. Like, you should never allow a controller because of ergonomic reasons. If it's more ergonomic, that's great, but you should not allow a broken controller because it is more ergonomic.
Was now promoting the Frame 1, entering tournaments with it, and saying he was going to switch to using it for, you guessed it.
One more reason for why I'm potentially switching to this one is that it's more ergonomic, right? I do think you can play for very long with a GameCube controller, but let's say from even if it's 8 to 10 hours, right? That is a lot for someone that is a professional like me.
After assembling the Fuck Hacks Avengers, the only thing Steven didn't account for was he was still just as lazy as when he worked on the box. The second pre-orders for 1,000 units of Frame 1s took over 2 years to completely ship out. There's a whole Reddit thread dedicated to warning people about Steven ignoring customers, blocking people who asked for a refund, and how there were no meaningful updates besides I'm sick to reassure those waiting on their Frame 1. He was also only catching up on refund requests once a month, which could explain why people were so pissed off. It actually got so bad that Steven just decided to make everything open source so people could make the controller themselves.
On February 19th of this year, the second pre-order run of Frame 1 sold out within 3 minutes, leaving a lot of Webby users behind. To bridge the supply gap and end this rectangle shortage, I'm proud to announce the release of OpenFrame 1, an open source hardware solution that makes it possible for anyone to build their own high-performance rectangle easily.
And even after shipping out all the recent orders, it's still displayed as sold out on his website. You know what isn't sold out? A box. Guess it doesn't matter how sexy and appealing an apple is when they're never in season.
Oh, Tech, but none of this matters. Hacks is still putting out videos, and he broke the rules, man. We need to be consistent and keep him banned forever.
Yeah, that's because he hasn't actually been unbanned for over 3 years. They let him go back to what, a couple tournaments 2 years later on the condition that he couldn't publicly defend his image after everyone used that time to call him a mentally ill schizophrenic who attacked Leffen for no reason, with the promise of maybe being unbanned at some undisclosed time if he shut up long enough? Yeah, but shame on him for complaining, right? Using his response to an unjust punishment to then validate further punishment is nothing short of cruel and completely lacks any kind of empathy. Nobody here is even saying Hacks is a threat. Their only argument is that every time he posts, random people on the internet are mean to Leffen. Every time Leffen posts, people hate Leffen. How is that fair? Do you really think these rules are applied on an objective basis? In the case of Shinkensou alone, Leffen explicitly violated 2.3.3 of the Code of Conduct regarding repeated unwanted and unwelcome advances of another participant, primarily through online means.
Why'd you follow me? So you can fucking follow my fucking tweets and attack me every fucking time I fucking speak about Chip?
As far as 2.2.1 for directed and malicious intimidation, harassment, or bullying of any participant, whether by language or conduct, every time Leffen has insulted people, called them shitters, illiterate, disgusting pieces of shit, or even outlined reasons to hate them, he has never once been reprimanded or forced to face the consequences of these so-called rules. Leffen is a consistent asshole to everyone. Not just Hacks, not just in Smash, legitimately every community he's crossed paths with, he's managed to start shit one way or another. Do I think he should be banned for it? I mean, for consistency's sake, it's arguable. But ideally, no. I don't think people should be banned just for being assholes, because one, it's not a crime, and two, that just leads to boring communities where everyone is a self-righteous loser pretending not to be an asshole, while they insult you to prove how moral and correct they are. No, I think they should just play the fucking game. But there's only one group who isn't big enough to put their differences aside and come together as a community. They'd rather do what they claim Nintendo has been doing for years, and strip away your right to play the game simply because they have the power to do so.
Nintendo reserves the right to destroy your life's passion, destroy your 17 years of work, destroy your favorite thing to do, the reason you met all your friends and future friends, the friendships that you made in the past, the money that you made to grow up. We reserve the right to get rid of all that for you. Nintendo is not possible for causing you depression or regretting all of your life decisions up to this point. We may update these guidelines, so on and so forth.
Mikey actually saw this tweet and responded to it, but he didn't respond in the way that you'd imagine. He actually only replied to some random person in the comments by bringing up the fact that we both have each other blocked on Twitter. Then he deleted this tweet and proceeded to completely ignore the post talking about Hax's well-being. Make of that what you will. Well, personally, I'm sick and tired of it. These organizers need to be reminded that they don't own the community. Melee hasn't existed this long because of a dozen people who were lucky enough to run a successful tournament. It's the love for the game, the people, and what these events represent that truly makes it a timeless passion for thousands around the globe. And that's not something they or anyone else can just sign away on a document. Everyone deserves the right to a real second chance. Not this indefinite purgatory with a carrot on a stick because their life isn't worth your time. That's why, from the bottom of my heart, I genuinely believe we should free Hax. Because maybe if it trends and they can't just sit there and ignore it, he'll finally be worth a second chance. Thank you all for watching. This has been the Victims of Leffen. If you enjoyed, don't forget to subscribe for more content, but before you go, I got one more surprise for you guys. You really thought I was gonna make a Leffen video without a diss track?
Moderate Mark Productions.
Project L, got a name, it's Leffen, 2 months, 15K. I'm laughing. Take his channel, check it out back and show him my new frame on back end. Ban the box where he plays with cocks, no sandbox and no retractions. Why the DDoS muddied red and Hungrybox, one of many reasons. Round 2, Leffen, like, what are we playing today? Hard to choose when I lose my Melee and Tekken 8. Ooh, must be a delay. Damn, no need to replay. I'll put this shit on rollback and attack your unsafe. A god-slaying villain who got dissed by chillin'. Even a my B, you try me, you'll still be feeling. Recover slightly with side B, fall short and ill, then die untimely. It's my B, now look and listen to all the hate. It's no mistake why you got banned by Sweden. Fail, wait and pop a blade, just a dislike, leave then celebrate that they made a little bitch like you been. Take the bait, cause I'm afraid no one gives a fuck about Leffen. My niggas, my niggas, my niggas, my niggas, my niggas, my niggas, my
Jack, aka the Sandman, he just quit a monster. Unleash me, let me get him. This kid acting the ass, he ain't no god. Diaper full of dookie. On your worst day, you still look like diarrhea. Your best day, HIV identical. Lifting, I'm living on the edge. It's still not man enough to come close enough to push me. I ain't Freddy, but don't come to M Street. I'm Jason, I'm your worst fucking nightmare. I kill a bitch, who birthed you? Yeah, that bitch. Evidence.zip expose you. This not a drill running towards the same building that you got banned from. Beast 3, Tekken I physically remove you from the premises. This definitely a hit on the right cheek. I hit you again, celebrating in club Hex night. 1-2 piece KO you like Rocky. Bet you still hear this after the bell. Ding, 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 ding. Don't ever come at it like this, boy. Boy, you don't want none of this, no. My niggas, my niggas, my niggas, my niggas, my niggas, my niggas. And she just motherfucking rapper niggas. Let me with the boy tech. Yeah, my boy from another niggas, my niggas, my niggas.
It does feel very weird to know that I might never play Melee again, like competitively.
If you enjoyed, consider subscribing and watching this video right here. It's really good, I promise.